The views expressed by the host of this podcast are not opinion-based or for entertainment purposes. They are actually facts and truth, no matter if other people like it or not. It is the Detroit sports truth, and nothing can ever stop it from being correct. Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to episode 186 of the Detroit Sports Truth on Spreaker. I'm Taylor Phillips, and I'm with my top co-host on the podcast, Ed Smith. Thanks so much for being on here, as always. How are you?
Doing fine, Taylor. A little bit unusual to be doing a show like this at this late an hour, but we have to wait for our Wings to take care of business in San Jose, so thankfully they got the job done, but we'll get to that a little bit later. There are some more pressing, urgent issues at hand that must be discussed here.
Yep, including, first off, Drew Sharp of the Detroit Free Press not apologizing for plagiarism and disappearing from 105.1 until Thursday. He was not on the air Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and nobody mentioned why. Nothing was confirmed yet, but Jeff Moss was saying saying and assuming that the Free Press suspended Drew Sharp for his plagiarism on David Harnes' article on about Connor Cook and Miranda McCoy, the girl that we talked about a few podcasts ago, a few episodes ago. Matt Deary tweeted on Twitter that Drew Sharp is going to apologize on Wednesday at 3, and somehow Drew Sharp actually didn't show up at all, and Lindsey Hunter still filled in for him again, and in other words, Drew Sharp tricked us for some odd reason, and oh man, Drew Sharp has taken this way out of line.
You're crazy! You're crazy! You're crazy! Are you crazy?
The no-show thing, I wasn't surprised, and to be honest, I was really surprised to be hearing possible reports of him apologizing. Like, really, Drew Sharp apologizing for anything, let alone his own his own crime of plagiarism. So when it was revealed that no, he wasn't there at the show, I was like, I let this be known to you. Like, it was another example how much of a trolling dirtbag that he is. So this didn't surprise me at the least.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know if Drew Sharp actually said that he was going to apologize. Said to 105.1 that he was going to apologize, but he maybe he might have made 105.1 and Matt Deary tease it on Twitter, and then fool the world thereafter. That might have been another way that we were deceived somehow.
Maybe a way seen as a quote unquote ratings grab for a fledgling sports station that is in absolute limbo, so to speak, with how much they're drawing.
Yeah, they're not drawing much. Detroit Sports 105.1 has dropped to 1.0 the last 2 months now in the Nielsen audio ratings on radioonline.com. And Dave Shore, since his arrival as the program director, has done pretty much nothing. Even when he fired Drew Lane. But back to Drew Sharp here. Drew Sharp comes in on Thursday, and he still doesn't apologize when he gets back on the air with Matt Deary, and we all get more impatient and irritated, that especially Jeff Moss, that who understandably gets all flummoxed about it. We would have felt the same way. So
was like, it was as more time passes, day by day, that this grows and grows and builds, and we're not seeing any form of public response to the matter by either Sharp himself, 105.1, or the Free Press. It's going to keep building to a point where somebody's going to have to boil over and just overflow at some point. The way it feels, you expect something like this is coming. I don't know if the Free Press, which by the way now it's just by its recent actions to show they have no form of integrity left or type of intestinal fortitude, metaphorically speaking, in them whatsoever. I don't know how long they're going to keep this going. Like, is it going to take public protest, petitioning, for them to finally take some course of action with, or I don't know, at the very least, make Sharp actually acknowledge, own up to his responsibility, admit it, or maybe at least suspend, if not fire him? It's going to have to take that sort of measure. It's going to have to take people boycotting the Free Press or publicly sabotaging the company and trying to humiliate them publicly at every turnaround. What is it going to take?
Yeah, it's going to take boycotting the Free Press entirely, especially Drew Sharp, who was always imbecilic on all of his columns, all of his articles and whatnot over the years.
Yeah, it makes this thing much more easier. It's very black and white. There's no gray area. It's a known factor for years. Drew Sharp has been an absolute hack of a journalist who tried to make hot takes to try to incense fans for clickbait on his articles or whatever the case may be. He's basically the Detroit version of Skip Bayless, except he's even less talented than what Skip Bayless is. So, and that's saying something. And now, the fact that he's committed, arguably, if not one of, if not the most biggest cardinal sins you could ever commit in the realm of journalism or writing, period, stealing someone else's work and trying to pass off as your own. I was like, it was like hitting the champagne bottle against a ship off the sail. It was like, the perfect ammo that you need. So why this idiot, this hack, this troll, this piece of human debris has been reprimanded for his job of any sort of form of capacity is beyond me, and that speaks to his employer first and foremost, both 105.1 and especially the Free Press, who, despite all this time, when they knew internally, right? They knew internally of what he had committed, but still took 10 days for until it was publicly discovered by the DSR. Then after that, in the immediate fall after that, nothing was still done. No comment from them on the matter. No comment from Sharp on the matter. And instead of firing him or at least suspending him, they let him continue to do his job at his other job at 105.1. And then late the other night, have him publish an article about the Lions. Like, really? Have you no sense of integrity or decency within you whatsoever as a newspaper organization, as an organization, period, to let something like this shamefully go on? That lets you know that, you really have no ethics, you have no code, you have no integrity, you're just a flailing fraud of an organization, period.
They only have integrity for Drew Sharp and nobody else. They may not care about us, the audience, or any of their writers. But I don't know. But I'm not so sure if the Free Press entirely revolves around Drew Sharp. But
I don't know. I don't get it. They can suspend Mitch Albom for lying about whether or not Mateen Cleaves and Jason Richardson attended the Michigan State Spartans basketball game 10 years ago. But when one of their own prominent writers steals someone else's work and tries to pass off his own and still doesn't give the original author credit for it and has to have somebody else edit it and archive it to let them know, to let everyone know, no, this is not his work, and you do nothing to him? I'm sorry, I can't even explain it. See, I'm at a loss of words for how completely ass backwards that is.
Yeah. So continuing on here, Jeff Moss and Melrose Jerry Green decided to prank call Darian Sharp on 105.1. I would try to open the articles here. Let me see here. All right, here we go. They prank Drew and Matt, and I got the audio here from DetroitSportsRag.com. Here it is.
Kirshner and Quinn, he said, would probably be the lead guys. Here's Jerry on Detroit Sports 105.1. Hey, Jerry. Hey, what's up? How are you, Jerry? Drew Sharp at the plate, Jerry. Drew Sharp at 248-544-1051. Brandon in Westland on Detroit Sports 105.1. What's up, Brandon? What's up, Brandon?
Yeah, I wanted to say that, hey, Drew, when are you going to apologize for stealing the blog?
All right, there we go. Text coming in at 5.
Yeah, so there you go. There's the audio.
I'm so very much proud of the fact that Jeff Moss, like myself, is a devoted follower and fan of the Howard Stern Show and the Whack Packers. And of the Whack Packers and their antics. That was very much a classic Howard Stern staff prank, like someone like a Sal Governale and Richard Christie, or Sour Shoes would do in that situation.
Exactly.
So very well done.
They deserve it.
Yeah, it's well deserved. I hope this continues, like every single day that Sharp and Derry are on the air, like every hour on the hour, you have at least one person call in or text or tweet or whatever that points out the fact that this lying flame ball of dirt, dog crap, I should say, Sharp, should be called out on his heinous act. And the fact that he still continues to be employed, but not one, but by two media outlets, that's embarrassing in and of its own right. So, yes, they deserve to be dragged into this also. Period.
Yep, and then going on to the continuing Detroit Sports 105.1 mess, now starring Drew Sharp article. It reads here that Sean Baligian on Facebook says that he will not discuss the Drew Sharp plagiarism scandal because there are more pressing issues in sports, in his opinion, and he doesn't. I guess 105.1 just doesn't want to get Sean in trouble or fired. That was up to Dave Short to decide that. He for some reason wanted Drew Sharp to remain on 105.1. It's the call letters are WMGC FM. In case you guys don't know that, it was once an adult album alternative music station until August 8th, 2013, when it was changed to Detroit Sports 105.1, and from the get-go they added so-called Detroit radio legend Drew Lane to join with Mark Fellhauer from 3 to 7 for the afternoon drive, just so they could try to humor the listening audience, not only in the Detroit area but all over the world online and on the smartphone. back to Drew Sharp again. Let me see here. This section was more about Dave Shore. Moss pointed out three counterpoints on or 3 points, 3 levels on in this article. That number one, he was told by the concerned citizen that Shore was extremely condescending when stating that the parent shouldn't believe everything she reads. Those were Drew Sharp's words. Don't believe everything you read, quote unquote. That was on some free press paper on some day, but the free press agreed with Drew Sharp to hide all the mischief and bury the hatchet, so the free press would not get him in trouble, and would actually try to prevent him getting in trouble with anybody else on this earth. And that's just helping him finish cheating. And that's just a travesty.
It's like the parent catching a kid doing something red-handed that they know they're doing something wrong, and yet they don't punish them for it. That's exactly what this is basically.
Yeah, they must assume that Drew Sharp only made a mistake, but want to lie to the media about it, that he didn't do a damn thing wrong, which he did. He does a lot of things so damn wrong. Not only does he lie to the media, but gets in a lot of trouble, or does something very, very illegal, especially in the media industry, and doesn't get punished by it, unlike everybody else. That's just not fair. Drew Sharp just keeps taking shortcuts and going through every single loophole to stay out of trouble with everybody. I can hardly wait. I can hardly wait until Drew Sharp no longer lives on this earth.
I won't go so that far. Yes, he is a dirtbag, but I won't go too far as to wish death on him.
It'll be years.
The
Yeah.
most I can wish for is he does lose his job, at least in the most humiliating way possible. But
yeah, I apologize.
Other than that, it won't show good character on my part to wish death on another human being unless you did something truly, truly atrocious. Don't get me wrong, this is bad from a very professional and integral standpoint, but not so bad to the point where you want to wish death on someone. That's probably taking it a bit too far.
Yeah, I apologize for that. We're gonna cut that. Never mind. So disregard that. But the only way to solve this is to boycott the free press.
Do what you gotta do. Petition, boycott, say, you're not gonna read their paper anymore, or not visit their website anymore, or not tune into 105.1, which is people don't do anyway. They would need to do whatever they can, because this cannot go unnoticed. This cannot go unpunished. Okay, someone has committed, in all intents and purposes, a crime, and he is not getting his just deserves. Okay, there needs to be consequences of these sort of actions. Period. Point blank. End of story.
Yep. So again, I sincerely apologize to my listening audience for scaring them that way. I'll edit that too. Anyway, number 2, after the plant wasn't buying the "don't believe everything you read" defense, Short had the unmitigated gall to claim that he had no obligation to fire Sharp or even discipline him because any transgression occurred at the free end, not 105.1. And number 3, Moss has been doing reconnaissance on Dave Shore for weeks, and this phone conversation basically confirmed everything that I have heard about him, from everything that he's heard about, Moss has heard about Sharp or Shore from inside that Ferndale building. Sharp rather. That Dave Shore is an empty suit who has absolutely no vision for WMGC, and his superiors are having some serious buyer's remorse. I am told that his greatest asset to the company is him dropping the names of famous people he met while working in Los Angeles to his current on-air talent. It would appear that management hasn't been dazzled by either his innovative crosstalk segments or the addition of local pariahs like Sharp and Rob Parker. Furthermore, none of his subordinates have any respect for the man and constantly mock him behind his back, even ridiculing his decision to live in Shelby Township, where he supposedly bought a house. Yes, the man with worse ratings at the PD, program director, who was fired before him, actually decided to buy instead of rent. And then Bill Shea, which has nothing to do with anything, but this is a side news report. This Bill Shea stuff was a notebook kind of side news report aside from the Drew Sharp information. So that's not our focus. But that's about it. That's all we have for the Drew Sharp developing follow-up.
Yeah, the less time speaking about that idiot, the better.
Yep. Yep. Drew Sharp is a dirtbag and an absolute disgrace.
Where is your honor, dirtbag? You are an absolute disgrace!
And he's a troll.
Did you know somebody that was trolling?
And he's a softie when it comes to talking Tigers, blaming bad luck for everything.
When were you so soft?
And that's about it. That's his. Those were his 3 strikes. Those were his 3 sides of the shameful triangle, or shameful pyramid, if you will. So that's enough Drew Sharp news. Why don't we get to some Lions news?
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Lions wide receiver Calvin Johnson on Wednesday was contemplating retirement after 9 seasons with the Detroit Lions. Calvin Johnson was drafted in 2007 by Matt Millen, Martin Mayo, and Tom Lewan, or just Matt Millen. And Calvin Johnson seemed to be the best wide receiver the Lions have had since, I don't know, somebody from way back in time, or forever.
Well, you probably have to say he's coming to his own as arguably their best wide receiver ever.
Yeah. Calvin Johnson spoke not only to the media but to the fans of the Detroit Lions that, quote, I will make a decision on regarding my future in the not too distant future. Whether to keep playing in the NFL or to hang up his cleats. Now, some fans were saying that they want him to be traded to a winning team because Calvin Johnson is tired of losing. That's one thing. He is also another thing. Another thing about him is he had also been suffering injuries the last few years, and they have been keeping him off his game. An ankle injury, for example.
Not to mention knee injuries, as well as I think a broken finger injury in 2011, 2012.
Yep. And that's just a shame.
Yeah, I mean, injuries, they will take a toll on you, no matter how good or great you are, what your talent and potential is. You know, the human body, you can't stay perfect forever. Father Time does eventually win. He will always win. That's like probably that and death are the only two guaranteed winners in all of life. And it's for the type of position that Calvin plays at, and knowing his skill, what his skill is, and how defenders are coming at him from every sort of direction, which way. The past few years, his body's taken a beating, and it's reflected. It's almost you have to go far back to look up on your injury report and not see Calvin Johnson's name on the list. That's how consistent, so to speak, he has been in dealing with this battle with his body, so to speak. So when you hear a guy who just turned 30.
That's what I was going to mention next. Yeah, Calvin Johnson right now is 30 years old. If he were to retire right now or soon this offseason, or during the NFL playoffs, if you will, he would be the youngest player in Lions history and NFL history to retire since Barry Sanders in the late 90s. When Sanders was 31, Barry Sanders got tired of losing with the Lions as well, but he didn't want to play for any other team, so he decided to hang him up. But yeah,
it is. It's not just that, but injuries. It will make you contemplate a lot over what you want to do with your future, and it's such a brutal contact sport such as this. But also not to mention the fact that he is having a cap hit of $24 million for next season. Now he's getting paid $16 million of that in cash, and with this, with the team going through its makeover, so to speak, however you want to call it. They fired the GM, fired the president, undecided on what to do with the head coach, had to bring in a new GM, also dealing with the ownership and everything. If you're Calvin Johnson, you might be wondering, hey, what is this going to do for me financially? How am I going to figure out all this? So that's another reason, that could be another reason another factor to mix into this. And also, like you mentioned before, the culture. I'm pretty sure Calvin Johnson is as classy and nice and flat out decent a human being as he is. I'm sure that deep down there's a part of him that's just sick and tired of all this losing. Okay? In his 9 seasons, he's only enjoyed 2 winning seasons. All right? And both those seasons, yeah, he went to the playoffs, but he didn't win a single game. So there's that. The revolving door of coaches. Bad team after bad team after bad team, underperformance by the whole team in general, and now when you off season, which featured a game when a lot of people thought you should have won. You have a disastrous 1-7 start that, like I said before, ends up getting 2/3 of your front office fired. You know, so when you factor all that in, and the multiple classic losses that seem to fit the Lions perfectly, Seattle, Green Bay, et cetera, it makes you wonder, like, really, how much more can one person take? When is enough? When is enough enough? As a breaking point, a limit been reached here with Calvin Johnson? That's another thing you got to factor, and you wonder, like, if he's going to contemplate retirement, or maybe he just doesn't want to come back to the Lions next year. Period. Whether it be retirement or just saying, "Hey, I don't care how you get it done. Trade me. Get me the hell out of here. I want to go to a winner. I want to see what success tastes like before I retire." That could be another factor as well. You got to consider all those factors. I think it'll be a combination of all those type of things, one way, shape, or form. As for the team itself, listen, I'm already on thin ice with this team enough as is. Okay, I was too young to fully understand, appreciate, and admire the talent and greatness that was Barry Sanders. I'm experienced that in full bloom with Calvin Johnson here, and if the Lions let him leave, walk away in any shape or form capacity like they did with Ndamukong Suh, I'm sorry. I'm practically done with this team, period. You know, in terms of rooting for them or wanting to see them succeed. If they let Calvin Johnson walk, forget about it. I'm done with this team. I'm done with the franchise. I'm done with the organization. As long as the people that currently run it and in charge are in charge. That's it. That's it. That's my final straw with this team. Okay? So I'm barely hanging on by a thread as is. So do what you can to keep Calvin, but if Calvin, by his own merit, wants to retire, I'll say more power to him, but I'll be done with this whole franchise period, and I would advise Lions fans to do the same. Okay? Stop going to their games, stop buying their merchandise. You are part of the problem as well. Because this team, this whole organization has done nothing for you. All right, for almost 6 decades, for almost 60 years, they have done nothing for you, okay? They've broken your heart, broke your back, hold you over a barrel, etc., and in return, you keep coming back to them like a battered spouse. Stop it. Enough is enough. Okay, if Calvin Johnson, possibly the greatest talent that you have had, one of the top 3 or 4 greatest talents in the history of this franchise, leaves you, that's it. You should stop rooting for this team until there's a full, complete overhaul from top to bottom, period. To a respectable-looking organization and franchise. Because that's it for me. That is it for me.
Yep. I feel the same way. I was going to mention my argument with Dennis Fithian on Barry Sanders' the way Barry Sanders retired on Twitter, but I don't want to bore you with that. Dennis Fithian's just another idiot on 97.1 The Ticket in Detroit. Nobody wants to know about that. Even though 97.1 The Ticket's ratings are still in like the top 3 or whatever in the Nielsen audio ratings. Let's just move on. We have a couple Tigers news notes here.
That one is long gone.
All-time shortstop Alan Trammell fails to make it to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in his 10th and final year on the ballot. He only received 40.9% of the vote. He needed 75%, and only Mike Piazza and Ken Griffey Jr. made it. Ken Griffey Jr. was over 80%. Piazza about 77% in change. But Alan Trammell didn't deserve much, or didn't get much by the fans, and that's it. He's no longer eligible for the rest of his life to ever be inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, despite not doing anything wrong.
I don't know what it is with this. You know, this is one of the annual migraines that I get in terms of sports, like this right here, the Baseball Writers Association. They seem so fickle. They seem like divas. You know, they seem so petty and vindictive who they want to pick and choose one year to the next. You know, when you have a guy like Alan Trammell, like literally, what has he done wrong? Okay, in terms of personality on or off the field, you know, he has contributed in such a way on the field that you think it would warrant, without doubt, a Hall of Fame vote, induction, nomination, or whatever the case may be. But, you know, whether, like this a couple years ago where they decided to let no players to the Hall of Fame, like come on, that's so childish of these people. Like, really? So it didn't surprise me at the least that once again Tram got snubbed. Same thing with Jack Morris. So I don't know.
Lou Whitaker.
Maybe there would be right, and Lou especially, right. You know, it's one of those cases where maybe something happens one day where a special election or whatever the case may be, Tram finally gets his just due. It may not happen while he's alive, but, you know, there will be a silver lining in the fact that, hey, finally someone recognized his talents and achievements on the field and finally deemed it worthy enough, as hideous as that sounds, to give him his just due. So that's really all else you're going to get out of me in terms of the Baseball Writers Association and their selection process for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was gonna ask, what did Lou Whitaker do wrong in his life? That's comparable to nothing that Alan Trammell ever did wrong in his career. Same thing for Jack Morris. I just don't see why Trammell, Whitaker, and Morris don't get much love from the fans or the media or the baseball committee or anybody else. That's just the fans just not using logic. But one note to clear up, though. Alan Trammell, Lou Whitaker, and Jack Morris might be in the Team Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee. That's what I've been hearing on Twitter a couple times. So
there you go. There's a silver lining right there.
Yeah, if there's no gold lining, there's still a silver lining. So, Tiger fans, keep your fingers crossed. There's still hope. Just when you think everything is going wrong for your all-time greats in baseball in Detroit, just if you do at least a little more homework or research, especially on the positive side, you'll find something good to know when you read it. The other update I was going to mention is the Tigers missed out on corner outfielder Alex Gordon, who was re-signed to a 4-year, $72 million deal by the Kansas City Royals. Alex Gordon perhaps just wanted to stay in Kansas City. That's about the only reason I can come up with. But the Tigers still have a chance to get Justin Upton. Tigers still have a chance to get Justin Upton, but still a slight chance. But the latest we've got about him is the Tigers were interested in him from Jeff Moss at Jeff Moss DSR on Twitter. I can hear myself.
No, still not a efficient update on that. So, whenever their news breaks on that subject, we'll be sure to give you the update on that. But for their sake, in terms of fulfilling a need that we've addressed endlessly here, to fulfill fill that spot in the corner outfield, this would be a good, very, very good pickup. If they can't get back Yoenis Cespedes, I think this would be a very good next best option, especially now since Alex Gordon's off the market.
Yeah, Yoenis Cespedes is still available. But our main question is, does Mike Ilitch have the money? Ilitch is still saying money is still not an option, but that's the last we've heard of him. And we haven't heard anything from Ilitch since he said that. But I think it's time for Ilitch to start watching his payroll more and better, and just think wisely. What should the Tigers do? The Tigers front office do to get either Yoenis Cespedes or to get Yoenis Cespedes or Justin Upton? Should they roll the dice and sign either one as an expensive free agent, or should they make a trade? That's either one is risky, but I'm sure one is easier than the other. But I think we'll find out. Anyway, with all that out of the way, it's recap time. We move on to hockey. The Red Wings were playing the San Jose Sharks out west, and they won 2-1 in regulation.
Another one-goal regulation win.
Tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row.
I am very impressed.
DeKaiser scored the first goal. Brent Burns tied it up in the first period, and then it stayed tied at 1 through 2 periods, and then at 13:08, Justin Applecater got the game winner on a slap shot from Pavel Datsyuk and Jonathan Eriksson. Eriksson has 5 assists. Yeah. And then with just seconds left in the third period, Pavel Datsyuk makes a veteran play and clears it behind the net from cross ice behind the net, and it allows another Red Wing player on open ice to clear the zone just enough for no icing. And then the Sharks ice it the other way with 9.7 seconds left, and the Red Wings win another face-off and dump it deep into the zone, and there was a puck battle, and then time runs out. The puck isn't moved too far anywhere, and the Red Wings win 2-1 in regulation. That's called fundamentally putting the game away by 1 goal in regulation. That's what we love to see. That's what Red Wing fans love to see.
Smart veteran instincts by Datsyuk and well execution by the rest of the team on that one. Excellent job.
Yep, Peter Mrazek came up big in that one. Let me pull up the box score real quick. Oh, right.
I got it in front of me if you need any help. Mrazek was virtually perfect. He stopped 35 on 36 shots for a save percentage of 9.972.
Oh, man!
Jones, the opposing goaltender, did a very good job as well. He didn't face nearly as many shots, but he had a good showing as well. He just gave up. Yeah, the unfortunate luck of giving up the game-winning goal in regulation. San Jose also, it seemed like also in many other facets of the game, they were in the lead for. They had an advantage edge number-wise. They had way more hits, more takeaways, but they also had more giveaways too, so that kind of evened out. And they also won 9 more face-offs. So it's when you look at some of these numbers and stats, you would think, wow, how can they be on the losing end? But that's how it just works in hockey sometimes. Sometimes when you shoot, one puck and you go one way, get a weird deflection, weird bounce, and goes in the back of the net, and literally can be the difference in the game sometimes.
Yeah, and that face-off win in the Red Wing zone with just seconds left in regulation. It was a critical one. Going into that face-off, the Sharks were leading in face-offs 25-20, and then the Red Wings won the last 2, making it 25-22. The final count in face-offs, and the Red Wings just get the job done. And at the end and when the final horn sounded, there came a brawl, and there was a lot extra, but no trouble, no harm. The Sharks were just the Sharks started it because they were just too frustrated of not winning this game, losing this game in regulation on home ice out in the West Coast.
That's usually the example where emotions can boil over, and like you just mentioned, just pure frustration, pent-up frustration that they couldn't get the job done from the home crowd.
Yep, jeans there, blue jeans. Yeah, so the Red Wings continue their 4-game West Coast road trip. Sunday in Anaheim at 8. Peter Mrazek starts that one. And then back-to-back games. The second one in Los Angeles Monday at 10:30 with Jimmy the Coward Howard in Los Angeles. And then on Thursday at 9, they go to Glendale, Arizona and play the Arizona Coyotes on Fox Sports Detroit Plus. Mrazek is back in net. The Ducks and Kings, two very big games here against two great teams. I can look up the standings here right now. Conference
the Kings and the Ducks are in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference.
The Ducks are not so good. The Ducks are not so good.
They're over 20 games over 500, but they just don't have as many points. They're 15 points back of the division-leading Kings. The almost same different. Like I said, they had 39 wins compared to the Kings 40, but those losses in overtime really make a difference in terms of the point differential and those 4 extra. Never mind. Pardon me. They're 500 on their win-loss record. To compare to the Kings 26-12 win-loss record. So that's
26-12 and 2.
Yeah,
the overtime losses. Don't forget those.
And exactly, those are big ones too. But when you compare that to the Red Wings own division, they're still maintaining within that top 3. They're currently listed, I believe, they're listed as either tied for second with Montreal. That's 5 points back of the still surging Florida Panthers, who have now won 11 straight games in a row. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane.
Especially with Jaromir Jagr and Roberto Luongo on their team. That just gives them a supercharge. Jagr is already an old veteran, but he still has that incredible touch.
He can still go. moving it year after year. It's like it's in a way he's like the Brett Favre, so to speak, of the
Wowzers.
NHL. At least some of Favre's later years, and even when he went to New York and played for the Jets, and of course with the Minnesota Vikings. In a way, it's kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
He can grow over 50 and still have an incredible touch. Just put him in the Hall of Fame already while he's still playing.
That'll be remarkable to see.
Yeah, absolutely. If he would join the Wings, it would just supercharge their offense and maybe especially on the power play that has been struggling this year.
There's been a number of things struggling for the Red Wings this year. I mean, looking at how these four important stats, so to speak, for the Red Wings in terms of overall rankings currently, as they're ranked of all the teams in the 2015-2016 NHL season, they are 20th in goals per game, 22nd in power play percentage, and 20th in penalty kill percentage. The only stat that they're probably good at, or at least medium range here, is 14th in goals against, and that's based solely on the fact that for most of the time when Peter Mrazek is in goal, they have a better shot at stopping pucks from getting in. So, it's quite outstanding when you see teams, when you see these type of rankings, and you're thinking, how the hell does this team have 8 games over 500 in the win-loss column, and is in second in their division? It's really remarkable, and you can put a lot of focus on that, on the fact that what Peter Mrazek has been very, very good for you in net as goalie, and why he needs to be named the starting goaltender for the majority of this season, period.
In the Metropolitan Division, the Washington Capitals just keep racking up their points, 63 to be exact. Alex Ovechkin has scored 497 career goals, by the way. Capitals winning 4-1 in Long Island over the Islanders, New York. Capitals now improved to 30 wins, 7 regulation losses, and 3 overtime losses. Nobody has nearly caught up to them as of right now. The Islanders at 49 at a 3-way tie in the Eastern Conference for third place with the Wings and Canadiens. Canadiens have been struggling as of late, especially without Carey Price. They lost their backup goaltender, Tokarski, to a trade. But the New York Rangers, 48 points. The New Jersey Devils, 45. Penguins, 43 points. Flyers, 41. There's a point in time where the Red Wings play at home soon against the Flyers, and then somewhere down the road this season they play in Philadelphia against the struggling Flyers. They haven't won in Philadelphia since 1997.
Basically, is what it seems like. If that's not literally true, it's close to
it. That's true. They got to find some way to win in Philadelphia. So back to the Western Conference teams that the Red Wings are about to play. Arizona, 44 points, 16-4, 7th place in the Western Conference. Anaheim, as we mentioned, 16-7, 39 points, 12th in the West. And Los Angeles, 2nd place in the Western Conference, and 1st in the Pacific Division, 26-12-2 with 54 points. A tie for 2nd place with the Chicago Blackhawks in points in the Western Conference. 8 points behind the leading Dallas Stars with 62 points, 29-10-4. So that rounds out all the important teams in the standings that we needed to cover. And that's about it for hockey. So moving on to basketball.
Left sideline three, and he answers.
Pistons come back with 33 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Celtics 99-94 in Boston. Let me see here. Going to Pistons.com. Reggie Jackson, I believe, scored 17 points. Either him or I think it was Reggie.
I think Reggie Jackson had 24. He scored 9 of his 24 in the fourth.
Yeah.
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP, he finished with 20. Those are two big indicators of how they were able to get this win done in Boston against a team that, they've been doing back and forth, so to speak. Kind of reminds you a little bit, I hate to go hyperbole here, it reminds you a little bit of those like mid to late 80s wars that the Pistons and Celtics would have in the playoffs, that type of thing. It seemed to work early for Boston in terms of Hacker Drummond, trying to get Andre Drummond to the line so he can miss free throws. And, eventually, it worked to an early advantage. Drummond ended up being 1 for 5 from the line. And he just missed out on a double-double. He had 9 rebounds, goals, 15 assists, 13 points. But still an okay productive game from him. But like I said, the performances by the two guards, Jackson and Pope, helped carry this team victory, as well as some good bench work. One second. One brief moment. Yeah, good bench production. 3 of the 4 players all scoring points. Stanley Johnson with 11 points, including a dagger of a 3 near the end that sealed the win. Anthony Tolliver continuing to make some threes when needed. A bit of an off night for Brandon Jennings. He was 1 for 4, but he did make 3 free throws. Still plus minus differential of 11 for Jennings, so to speak. Had 2 assists. To go on to help with this night. So a needed win, a great win on the road against a team that you are contending for a possible playoff spot down the road. So with that win, the Pistons were able to leapfrog not just the Celtics but also the Orlando Magic, and now are currently up to the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference standings at 20-16, just 1 game behind the currently 6th seeded Indiana Pacers, who stands at 20-15. So, if the season were to end today, the Pistons would not be facing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. Instead, they would be facing the Chicago Bulls. And really, based on how they've played the Bulls so far this season,
especially in that quadruple overtime game.
Yes, exactly. Especially that game. You would actually feel a little bit confident in the Pistons' chances to make this a competitive series. Not saying they would win outright, because like I said, you got to beat this team 4 times out of 7 games. So that would be no easy pickings. But still, I think it'd be a little bit competitive of a series, especially with these 2 rivals. Gives you back memories of the late 80s, early 90s battles with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and a bunch. So, very good progressive win. We'll see how it goes for them, because the stretch started off a little bit bad, with the losses, with the loss to Indiana, but they rebounded and gotten 2 big wins over the Celtics and over the Magic, and now over the Celtics. So we'll see how what's next for them as they continue this road towards the All-Star break.
Pistons return home Saturday against the Brooklyn Nets at the Palace of Auburn Hills at 7:30 on Fox Sports Detroit. Brooklyn Nets beat them last time. Pistons are looking for some revenge. What's the game plan?
Guard the 3. it seems to be one of the biggest downfalls for the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
One of the biggest weaknesses so far throughout the season. They haven't. Every once in a while, they'll fall into a slump in terms of trying to play defense around the perimeter, and they get burned practically every single time. And another thing, if teams are starting to hack a Drummond strategy, you have to sit out your Drummond for as long as possible until you're out of the foul trouble, so to speak. Or if you're in the foul bonus and you know teams trying to catch up, you gotta have Drummond on the bench. It's gonna be tough to do, tough decision to do, but for the sake of maintaining a good lead, you have to keep Drummond on the bench in that regard. So those are two factors I would say, and preparing for this. Two factors I would say the Pistons should focus on preparing for this game.
Brooklyn Nets right now, looking at the standings on NBA.com. Brooklyn Nets are 10-25.
They're the second worst team in the East, basically, behind record-wise, behind the Philadelphia 76ers. So I think it'll be very imperative and better easygoing for our psyches as Pistons fans if they just get the job done and take care of these fools at the Palace, please.
Yeah, 15 games out of first place. That's just unacceptable. And then the Pistons end their short two-game homestand Tuesday at 7:30 against the San Antonio Spurs. They're in second place in the West at 31-6. That is a big game.
Huge game, and I got one of my close friends. He's a big Spurs fan, so we've been kind of doing some jaw jacking back and forth with each other. Like, my team's gonna beat your team. Like, no way, my team's gonna smoke your team. So, it'll be very interesting to see how this game plays out. Will it be close? Will it be competitive? Will they give a bit of a fight, kind of like what they did against Golden State a little bit for a better part of that game? So, it'll be interesting to see how that works out, because this is one of the teams that, quite frankly, should be favored not just to win the West, but favorite to win it all if it wasn't for the great start that Golden State's been having. So, Pistons got their work cut out for them, that's for sure.
Yep. And then on Thursday, they go to Memphis and play the Grizzlies at 8. Memphis is 19-18 in sixth place in the Western Conference, 15 games out of first. Most of this Western Conference pretty much almost stinks. There are only 6 teams in the Western Conference that are over the 500 mark. But the Houston Rockets, 18-19, 16 games out of first. It goes downhill to the Los Angeles Lakers, who are the second worst team in the NBA, behind the 76ers. Lakers at 8-29, 76ers 4-34. All that, but
you basically have your two sparkling diamonds in San Antonio, Golden State, and the rest are Apollo turds. Basically, was what it comes down to.
Yep. One more note: the New York Knicks at 18-19, 8 games back in 10th place in the East, have shown interest in a trade for Brandon Jennings, according to CBSSports.com. But the fans in the Detroit Sports Group on Facebook prove very valid points of why this is wrong. Brandon, number one, first and foremost, Brandon Jennings doesn't want to be traded, and Stan Van Gundy wants to re-sign him. Second of all, the Pistons are not getting Carmelo Anthony, okay? Stop with that. Yeah, and Carmelo Anthony was not even mentioned in that article on CBSSports.com. Not once. The Pistons and Knicks have moved on from Carmelo Anthony in terms of that trade interest rumor that is being published on online. They were talking about former Piston Jose Calderon, who hasn't done much, and Porzingis. But that's all they mentioned. But going deeper into this article on CBSSports.com, rookie Jerian Grant has seen his minutes slashed to almost nothing and has acknowledged his difficulty with the triangle offense under head coach Derek Fisher. Matt Moore publishes this, an NBA writer. He also said, for the money that, in that last paragraph, for the money, in the second sentence, for the money they're paying Reggie Jackson, they might be interested in moving Jennings for the right return. There is no right return that we see. But
right, if you're not offering Carmelo Anthony or at least a good considerable player, hey, like, I don't know, Aaron Aflalo, like, what's even the purpose of even contemplating or even wanting to discuss a quote-unquote possible Brandon Jennings deal? There is none.
Right. Jose Calderon and Aaron Aflalo. Do you have any statistics on them right now?
I don't, not at the moment, but from what I can tell, looking at some highlights and headlines, Aflalo is doing a very good job of being productive offensively, which is kind of sucks because it's yet another haunting reminder of why in the world did Joe Dumars give that guy away in 2009. I believe it was traded him to Denver. So, yeah, if you wanted to open up the talks of a Brandon Jennings trade, I'd say, okay, fine, give us Aaron Aflalo, and we'll call it even. Calderon, no, he was serviceable when he was here, but at this point in his career, he's just meant to be that veteran off the bench. That's all he is. So, no, I would not want him back at any shape or form. So, that's that.
I'm looking up Aaron Aflalo right now. Yeah, it's players. Hang on a second. But yeah, it's too late for that. But Aaron Aflalo, there we go. Aaron Aflalo, ARR. Current season statistics right now. Now looking at Jose Calderon. Yeah, I got him. Looking at his current season statistics. Hang on a second. It directed me to the Knicks website. Or I might have clicked on it on the Knicks website. There are two separate links. Oh my. Calderon, 7.6 points, 3 rebounds flat, 3.8 assists, 9.6 pie.
So, I mean, sure, he may give you slightly more assists, but, like, he's, not useful at all in terms of giving you productive scoring. So, if you wanted to do a trade for Brandon Jennings, why in the world would you offer me Jose Calderon when, I can easily take Aaron Aflalo off your hands?
Of course, anybody would be dumb to do that. Jose Calderon still has a lot of developing to do. So with that, we go to college basketball. The Michigan Wolverines get blown out by number 20 Purdue, 87-70 in West Lafayette. They're home against Maryland on Tuesday number 3 Maryland at 9 on ESPN. Just not much continuity for the Wolverines especially without Karis LeVert, but they still would have done better.
That was what I mentioned. Now, I was going to mention in one of my points. It showed. Not having Karis LeVert in your lineup really showed, because without him, you couldn't really generate that much of an offensive spark where it can keep you competitively close in a game like this. Now, they had a bit of an early lead, and it seemed, they were trailing within single digits at halftime. But again, it really showed in that second half, not having LeVert in that game, a guy who could really take over. Now, granted, you did get good production from Muhammad Ali Abdul-Rahman. He was 10 for 16 from the floor at 25 points, but that was practically it. Derek Walton, 12 points. Zach Irvin, abysmal game, 2 for 10 shooting from the floor. Missed all his threes, only got 7 points. Mark Donald probably had a bit of a come down to earth type of game, but he did make 2 of his threes. Unfortunately, he only ended with 7 points. So, very little bench production, and really only one player making a difference in your starting lineup. When you contrast that to Purdue, all 4 of their players, 4 of their 5 starters had equal but effective scoring points. 4 of the 5 were in double digits compared to 3 of 5 from Michigan, and of course, way better bench production as well. That was another difference. No Karis LeVert, and far better bench production from Purdue were the keys to them just winning this game. So, you will hope for a better chance against Maryland, especially since it's going to be at home. But if you're not having Karis LeVert, you're not going to have much of a chance. Unfortunate as that is to say, but it's the truth.
Moving on to Michigan State basketball, the number 5 Spartans plow Illinois 79-54. The Illinois Fighting Illini just had an awful first half, scoring only 25 points, allowing 47 to Michigan State. Just an easy game for Michigan State to take advantage of. They hold them in check in the second half and win 79-54. It was just an easy game for Michigan State and an awful game for the Illinois Fighting Illini in the Breslin Center.
One big difference. Illinois was 2 for 15 from 3-point range, whereas MSU was 6 of 15 from beyond the arc. So that was one big difference there in terms of determining who was going to win this game. And this was a nice bounce back game for MSU after going through the loss to Iowa. And of course the close call against Minnesota. It was nice for them to come back in front of the home crowd and get them a nice, comfortable win. So, now they got a game against Penn State, which probably is a bit of a trap game, because now they got another shot at Iowa, this time on their own home floor, coming up next Wednesday. So, I'm interested to see how they would do in that one, especially now that they got a taste of what they can do, what they went through when they were on the Hawkeyes' home floor. So it's just an interesting game. It'll be an interesting game to check out, especially when we're still trying to figure out the continuing progress on Denzel Valentine's recovery from knee surgery. And as soon the earliest that he could possibly
he could return either next week. He could return either next week or the week thereafter.
All right, so next week is the Iowa game, so that'll be an early indicator of whether or not Tom Izzo feels that Valentine is ready, and if so, that's a perfect game to bring it back for that revenge game against Iowa. So
that is on Thursday at 7 on ESPN at the Breslin Center, following their Sunday at noon game on BTN at the Penn State Nittany Lions. That's another easy game the Michigan State Spartans should win on the road. The Michigan State Spartans got their got a road win in the Big Ten Conference at Minnesota, 69-61, after getting thumped by Iowa, 83-70 on the road when they were the number one team. That was in Iowa City, but I still can't get over that. That was just very demoralizing. Spartans still get the number 5 ranking in the nation. Luckily, they're looking to unleash hell on the Iowa Hawkeyes. This a week later. It's number 19 at number 5 as of right now, and they need Denzel Valentine back, especially against Iowa. And if he returns that game, then it'll be bottoms up. So with that out of the way, I have another 5-question segment for you.
It's time for 5 questions with Taylor the Gator Phillips.
Question number 1. Is boycotting the Detroit Free Press a much better idea, or is constantly prank calling a much better idea?
I'm gonna take the fun option and say the prank calls, because one, you constantly let them know of, hey, what are you doing keeping this dirtbag employed and all the air, and also it's just fun to see somebody get publicly humiliated in a form of a prank call setting, just to see their reaction.
Well, you got to choose your words wisely. You got to mention the plagiarism. He's a plagiarist. The David Harns. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's why I'd say go with the prank call option.
Yep.
It's much more direct and much more fun.
I would think precisely, it would be step number 1, and then step number 2 would be the boycotting. So both in a chronological order. Question number 2.
Next question.
If Calvin Johnson retires this offseason or during the playoffs, where do the Lions go from there?
They take a massive step back. Well, I won't say massive step back, because there's still Golden Tate there.
Yeah.
It'll be a loss. It'll be a significant loss for sure. As to seeing whether or not it will affect their win-loss total for next season, I don't know. That's still yet to be seen. We've seen instances where we thought, like, for instance, Patriots lose Tom Brady, in week 1 for an ACL injury for the rest of the 2008 season, and yet they still managed to win 11 games. So, it's not quite so easy to predict wins, losses. And, like I said, that Patriots team had Matt Castle as a backup. So if they can win 11 games with Matt Castle, I think the Lions can do fine with Golden Tate as their primary receiver in the event that Calvin Johnson is no longer on the team. So they'll take a step back, but they won't be so, oh my God, they're going to drop to the bottom of the barrel. They're flat out too talented to do so.
Question number 3.
Next question.
Oh, by the way, heard someone on the Schuling Report say that the team could consider going after Alshon Jeffrey from the Chicago Bears. What do you think about that?
Well, if you have enough money to get him, so be it. But this is would be another indicator that they're looking into Jeffrey as a possible backup plan should Calvin retire. That's another, thing to look at between the lines here.
Yep. Okay, now question number 3.
Next question.
Is Jimmy Howard going to get chased again for a 3rd straight start when he plays the second of back-to-back games Monday in Los Angeles against the Kings at Staples Center?
No, I think he'll do it slightly better. I don't know how good it'll be, but I think it'll be slightly better. It's not like he's a horrible, horrific goaltender where this is gonna happen every game. No, Howard still shows you flashes every once in a while that he's still productive. He can still be serviceable. But this is clearly Peter Mrazek's team in terms of him being the starting goaltender. But I think Howard will put in at least do an adequate job when it's his time to start against the Kings.
All right. Let's hope so. We'll see what happens. Question number 4.
Next question.
Do you think the Pistons will keep or trade Brandon Jennings?
They'll keep him. Period.
Yep.
Unless somebody comes in with a outstanding offer, I don't see the Pistons trading Jennings.
Yeah. Chances are likely that outstanding deal won't come through. There's a very slim chance. Question number 5, finally.
Next question.
Do you think MSU gets revenge against Iowa at home?
Yes, I do. Primarily, like you just stated, it's the home factor. Those rabid fans at Breslin, at the Brez, they're going to be wanting some black and yellow blood, and not to mention the possible factor that we might see Denzel Valentine return for this game. Yes, I do say MSU gets its revenge and gets their receipt back, so to speak, for the Hawkeyes.
I predict MSU 96, Iowa 80 in a high-scoring affair.
I'd say 87-71. MSU will win, and they'll win comfortably.
71?
Maybe 79.
Oh, okay, yeah. MSU 79, yeah. Iowa 71.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Iowa some respect here.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that covers everything, Ed. That wraps up episode 186 on the Detroit Sports Truth. For Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. Ed, thanks so much for talking with me on episode 186. We'll talk Monday at 1:30.
You're welcome, Taylor. It was my absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Take care. You have a good night, a safe night, as well as all you out there listening in podcast land, radio land, wherever you may be. Thank you for listening, and I greatly appreciate it. Y'all take care now.
Yep. Thanks so much. And if there's anything you fans want more of or less of on our podcast, please let us know. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Bon appetit.